The crisp wind howled across the tourney field, scattering scarlet leaves. Their hue matched the blood trickling from the wounds of the fallen, who lay in a haphazard pattern as if the wind had scattered them as well. Some struggled upright and limped towards the boundary of the melee, where their squires and servants waited amidst the roaring crowd to staunch their wounds. Some crawled. Some could do little more than groan as they waited out the battle's end. A few would never rise again. 2 combatants remained on their feet, their sword hilts locked together in a contest of brute strength, their snarling faces inches apart. Shrike, who had slain several of the corpses on the field, stared unblinking into the mercurial eyes of his opponent. These eyes belonged to a knight whom the court considered quite beautiful, and it was said those eyes altered their colour with his moods. To Shrike they had appeared gleaming green when the battle commenced. Now they'd faded to an icy blue and paled with every passing second. The knight's lips had taken on a blue tinge as well, twisted in a lupine snarl to reveal doubled canines as sharp as his longsword. The blood-slicked blade crossed against Shrike's own to form a shining scarlet X between their close-pressed chests. The well-honed edges, Shrike's with more nicks and notches, scraped against the ringed mail beneath the knight's tabard and scored the leather armour of a Shrike's tunic. "Yield!" the knight hissed between clenched teeth. Some scant moments before, an errant shield bash had split Shrike's lip open. Shrike had cut down the shield's wielder, who now lay groaning into the dirt a stone's throw away. Still Shrike's lip bled. He licked the blood from his chin now and darted his head forward between the crossed blades to crush the knight's mouth beneath his kiss. The knight jerked his head back, or attempted to at least, before Shrike bit his tongue. And in that instant of shock and outrage, Shrike sank his dagger into the hollow beneath the knight's flailing left arm. Blood poured forth. Each successive wave came weaker than the last, the blade having pierced the knight's heart. The hot torrent soaked through Shrike's tunic sleeve. The copper stench of fresh spilt blood joined with the miasma of gore that hung over the tourney field. Shrike stared into the knight's eyes as their ice blue faded to silver white. Then they rolled back, and the knight collapsed in Shrike's arms. His sword scraped against Shrike's cheek as it fell to the ground. Blood for blood, Shrike supposed, and dropped him. The victory horn resounded over the tourney field. The rising cheer of the crowd swallowed up its echo. Few of the Fae scattered around him were dead. Fae did not perish so easily. Even a knife to the heart could heal with time. The mercurial-eyed knight, like most of his rank lying broken over the tourney field, had a squire, a page, and very likely a gentle lover to tend his wounds and mend his armour, so he might fight another day. Shrike, as a mere knave, had none. He would not have been permitted to stride out on the tourney field at all if the Queen had not called for a general melee, in which Fae of all rank could compete for her favour. And as the pages and squires and gentle friends swarmed the battlefield to rescue the wounded, Shrike stumbled through alone, a single minnow swimming against their overwhelming current, towards his queen. The queen of the court of the Silver Wheel sat at the northernmost end of the tourney field. Her servants had erected a temporary bower, coaxing a copse of hemlock trees to grow into a shelter for their queen. Their scaly trunks twisted together like a nest of snakes for a floor, and their flat needles of brightest green came together overhead to filter rays of the setting sun like stained glass. Stout lower branches forked into stools for handmaidens and courtiers. Thrust forth from the centre like the bow of a ship, a balcony emerged with 2 thrones. On the tallest and centremost throne sat the queen herself, perched on the edge of her seat, her delicate white hands laid on the braid of branches that formed the balcony's rail. In the lower throne at her left hand, set back from the balcony's edge, sat the Holly King, her champion until Yule. A ring of knights, those whose service the Queen deemed too important to permit their participation in the tournament, surrounded the base of the bower. Each wore her livery, a silver wheel on a cobalt-blue field, and stood ready to defend her person and her honour. At her nod, her knights withdrew to let him pass, and he climbed up into her bower. The splendour without proved nothing compared to the splendour within. Paper lanterns filled with blue fireflies augmented the green sunshine, and maidens and courtiers garbed in feathers and silks twittered together like so many songbirds, yet all with at least one of their eyes on their queen, lest she should require their prompt service. Her servants, human and Fae alike, had piled